What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ango Show. We are live, and we're going to be talking about WWE Raw tonight. It is May 8th, 2023, and it was a solid episode of Raw. I'm not going to sit here and act like this was the most talkable episode of WWE Raw. I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that this was the greatest episode of WWE Raw, but there was a couple things that WWE did, in fact, accomplish tonight, which I do appreciate. And there was a lot of logic that was placed in the booking decisions tonight. So it just seems like for that, I can give this episode a thumbs up. Now, of course, there's going to be people on social media and, of course, people in the chat. And there's going to be people on Twitter that complain, why is, Natalya going up against Rhea Ripley and all of these other things that have happened. Or, Seth beating Finn Balor clean. Why did WWE do that? Why did Brock Lesnar attack Cody Rhodes? Guys, we're going to talk about these things on the Ango Show tonight. But as far as logic goes, I do not think they had a miss at all tonight. As far as that goes, I feel like WWE did not miss anything. I feel like everything was fairly logical. I think everything fairly made sense. And to WWE's credit, I do want to see what happens in this tournament. Because obviously the tournament was a big deal tonight. So I appreciate all of you guys stopping by tonight. If you guys want to interact with the show, go ahead. Feel free to drop a super chat. I'll get to that. I'll read your questions on the air. And then in regards to the show, I'll give you guys my opinions throughout the night. But of course, the number one thing I ask is if you guys can just sit back, relax, and enjoy yourself. I really want to make these live streams to the point where we're just more relaxed and more chill and just openly discussing things. As you guys know, I love reading your guys' comments in the chat, so I will definitely get to those. I'm seeing a lot of people are giving you guys some pretty good praise for the show tonight. And again, like I said, this wasn't the most talkable show, but you can tell that WWE definitely has plans in place, which I appreciate. Some people have patience, some people don't, but we kind of saw things with Otis and Maxine Dupree and Chad Gable. They're continuing that story. We saw Mustafa Ali. He's somebody we've talked about on the channel before as somebody who is expected to get a fairly nice push on the main roster after Backlash, and that seems to begin tonight. We saw the return of The Way. The Way is an NXT faction. Johnny Gargano, Indy Hartwell, Dexter Lumis, Austin Theory, and Candice LeRae. Did I say Candice LeRae? Maybe I didn't. But nonetheless, all four, Theory's on SmackDown, so he's not going to be coming to the group, but Johnny Gargano did, in fact, tease that Ciampa could be coming back soon, and they were kind of talking about whether or not Ciampa should be in The Way, so that's going to be a very interesting thing that we'll talk about a little bit today, but yeah, for the most part, I feel like the show was logical. That's what I would say, and I feel like that's a really good thing, and I feel like everybody somewhat looked good tonight. I feel like WWE, obviously doing the World Heavyweight Championship tournament, definitely felt important. They kicked off the episode with a very nice video package for the tournament, which I was actually a fan of that. So that was really cool. And, I think the cool thing about WWE tonight is that we saw some NXT talent on there. And they played video packages. We know that Indus Sher, a.k.a. Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Sangha, they're coming. Veer is coming again. So that was really cool. Obviously, Zoe Stark wrestled Nikki Cross, and that was something that I thought was a nice little showcase match for Zoe Stark. I'm really intrigued, though. Like, if there was one thing I really took away, if there was one thing I took away from WWE Raw tonight, obviously it's the first episode post-draft. We're going to start seeing stories formulate and alliances and feuds and all these things are going to come to fruition. But if there's one thing I'm really curious about is WWE and the handling of NXT talent now that they've called up so many people, because they called up 18 wrestlers. 18 wrestlers from NXT. Some of them have strong character work, some of them don't. But we saw Zoe Stark come in, and she had a couple good moments in her match. She did a little backstage segment setting up her match with Nikki Cross, and I think it's going to be just really interesting to see what WWE does. And to be fair, Jacksonville was not a good crowd tonight, so you really can't utilize this group of people that were sitting in attendance to gauge what's going to work or what's not going to work. But I am curious to see what WWE does with the NXT talent, because I think if they handle it properly, a lot of people will get over. And I think there's people that got called up that will have it easier than others. Like Grayson Waller, for example, I think stands out as somebody, he's going to do very big things on SmackDown. But tonight we're talking about Raw, and I just like the fact that WWE had video packages for some of the NXT talent. I like the fact that they had a little bit of showcase of NXT, because at the end of the day, you cannot sit here and put them on TV and do nothing with them, right? You got to start getting the crowd to actually understand who these people are. So my big question mark is, long-term, out of these 18 call-ups, which ones will actually be doing something on TV? And I think that's a very good question to ask, and it's definitely something to pay attention to. Shout out to Lloyd, Adam, Trevor, Brandon, Rick, Ray. What's up, everybody? What's up, Nate TV? How's everybody doing? Thank you guys for stopping by. Adam says, answer me this, Ango. If Vince McMahon, what if Vince demotes Triple H from head of creative and puts himself back in the role? What happens to WWE? Will AEW benefit? What do you think? I don't really want to focus on AEW. I think AEW needs to focus on AEW, and I think WWE needs to focus on WWE. I'm just going to be honest, and this is nothing against you, Adam, but I think I'm just so over the idea of talking about Vince and WWE and creative and Triple H. I don't care, to be honest. If Triple H booked this episode, I think it was a solid episode. If Vince McMahon booked this episode, I think it was a solid episode. I really do not care who's writing the shows. I don't care if Tony Khan is writing AEW or if it's Will Washington. I don't care if it's Will Washington or John Cena. I don't care if it's me. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I really don't want to focus on who's writing the show. I want to focus on the content that they're writing. And I felt like Raw was solid. Again, it's not the most important episode, but it felt like a big deal, obviously, because Night of Champions, and then obviously Cody and Brock Lesnar stuff. So I just feel like right now WWE, here's the thing. People move the goalposts back in wrestling. And this might bother some of you, but I'm just going to call it like it is. WWE's biggest issue under Vince McMahon was logic. Okay? All of your favorite podcasters, all of your favorite Twitter accounts, all of your favorite social media content creators out there, they would say Vince McMahon does not book logically. Match finishes weren't ending in logical ways. Feuds were being dropped. Storylines were being dropped without explanation. Things were happening on TV where it's like, okay, this literally doesn't make sense. Now, whether it's the most important episode and the most talkable episode ever doesn't really matter. What matters to me is, did they produce a television show that was logical? There's storylines coming into play. They're teasing Tommaso Ciampa. They got something going with Brock and Cody. There's a lot of substance added to it. They got Seth Rollins beating Finn Balor clean. He's going to the tournament. Again, these are all the things, in my opinion, that matter. Logic and continuity. You can sit here and say, I don't want to watch Rhea Ripley and Natalya. And I would say, no problem. The way they're setting that storyline up makes sense. You don't want to feed an up-and-comer. You don't want to put Candice LeRae against Rhea Ripley. You don't want to bury her. You got to put the veteran up there who is going to be arguably one of the better opponents for Rhea Ripley at Night of Champions. And it makes sense for WWE to do that. Whoever versus Rhea Ripley at Night of Champions should not be getting buried. You shouldn't be putting Xia Li. You shouldn't be putting anybody. Chelsea Green. It doesn't matter. Don't put any of them in that match. Put a veteran in there. You do that with Natalya. And it just makes sense. It might not be ideal for you, but the purpose of it is so WWE is not burying somebody that's new to the roster, right? Now, I also want to point out, because there was one major flaw. There was one major flaw to WWE Raw tonight, and it's Rhea Ripley carrying the SmackDown Championship belt. I don't care if they swap titles. I don't care if they reveal new Women's World Championship belts. I don't really care how they go about it. But that was really the one takeaway where I was like, okay, this is the one thing on Raw that didn't make sense tonight. Because again, whether you like the matches or don't like the matches, whether you like the crowd reaction or don't like the crowd reaction, that stuff is not really a big deal to me. Because again, the stuff that I used to judge WWE on was like logic and logical finishes and like did the story make sense? Did this make sense? Did that make sense? That doesn't actually seem to be an issue anymore in WWE, right? But the one thing that is annoying is watching Rhea Ripley on Raw with the SmackDown Championship. And the worst thing is they keep referring to her as a SmackDown Women's Champion. So again, I don't care if they do a title swap. I don't care if they reveal new titles. But it's just almost like, why is this one little detail not being addressed? And I think that's a legitimate thing to mention, right? Again, I enjoyed the show. It wasn't the most talkable episode, but it definitely made sense. A lot of things made sense. The triple threat matches made sense. A lot of the things that they did made sense. They're building and progressing stories. Okay, that makes sense. There's new stories being built. There's new faces being introduced. All of these things make sense. But the one thing I didn't necessarily enjoy was watching Rhea Ripley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, on Raw. But she's been drafted to Raw. So, listen, drop the names, change the titles. I don't care how they do it, but I feel like they need to address that ASAP. Not really asking for much more than that. Yeah, so they were in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville was not a good crowd for them. They were not. Jacksonville was definitely not a good crowd. And it kind of goes to show you, though, right? Like, look at Puerto Rico, and then look at Puerto Rico, and then look at what we saw with Jacksonville. And I get it, big time stadium show versus an episode of Raw, but Jacksonville was not a good crowd. Not a good crowd whatsoever. And to be fair, I don't care about crowd reactions too much, whether they're good or bad, but I would be dumb if I didn't tell you that crowd reactions make a big difference. Because even Seth Rollins and Finn Balor were kicking ass, and it's like the crowd really just wasn't, I don't know, like, do they, like, what they were doing? Were they just sitting on their ass and, like, paying money just to show up for no reason? I don't know. I did find that to be a really strange decision, though. I really did. And I found, like, I feel like WWE is kind of in one of those situations right now where when you show the world how crazy the crowd reactions are, you want to try to maintain that as much as possible. And the crowd was singing Seth's music, and they were doing it with Nakamura's music, which we'll talk a little bit about Nakamura in a second. But they were definitely, like, getting involved with, like, Cody's entrance and stuff. But then, like, when it comes to the actual matches, like, I thought the triple threat matches were great. I thought the tag team match, Imperium versus Sami Zayn and Gunther, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, like, I thought that match was fun. And it's just like the crowd kind of pops in, like, a little bit here and there. And I thought that was kind of sad, to be honest. I thought that was kind of disappointing, just to see that the crowd was so weird. And again, to me, it's not like, oh, I can't watch Raw because of the crowd. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how I view things. When I see the crowd is not so hot, that doesn't make me like, oh, I can't watch the show. But it just kind of goes to show you that the crowd's energy can definitely change the way you feel about a show. I definitely think it influences a little bit. Let's see. Going through the chat. And yes, like I said, we'll talk about some stuff. Wrestling is Art says, too predictable. This has been Seth's tournament from the beginning. It's not predictable. We got another show to watch where there's going to be 2 triple threat matches and a finals match. So I would definitely say it's not predictable. And listen, anybody who watches my channel knows how I feel about predictability. Predictability is not always a bad thing. If you're getting the result that you want, if you're getting the result that people want, it's okay to be a little bit predictable. What I would say, though, and I feel like this is so important, it's one of those things where we don't know what's going to happen at Night of Champions. So that right there makes me think it might not be as predictable as we all think. Imperium vs. Sami KO is a tag team title match. Why would they waste it for the first Monday night after the roster's changed? With that logic, that applies to, just so everybody knows, that logic applies to any tag team match, right? It does, because you could put any great tag team with there and they'll deliver a fun match, a great match. So could it be a tag team championship match eventually? Yeah, I think this could be the start of a storyline. I do think it could be the start of the storyline. I think that's why it existed. I think WWE, brand new tag team division on Raw. You're trying to get your crowd familiar with these guys. They don't have to win clean. I don't think we're in a scenario where WWE literally has to just gatekeep their talent from television just because it could be good on pay-per-view. WWE is in the television business. They are not in a championship, let's do every match a championship. There's storylines, there's a process, there's a roadmap for absolutely everything. I believe, and I could be wrong, I'm not saying I'm right, but I think WWE is in a scenario where they literally have to introduce new faces to the show to give it a fresh feel. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They looked good. It was a fun match. And let's see what happens next, right? I mean, that's the way I look at it, is let's see what happens next, because WWE now they have to be careful, right? If you're looking at wins and losses, if you judge a wrestling product by wins and losses, you got to be careful with how you present Imperium next week and the week after. But WWE already told us Gunther will be on Raw next week. Makes sense, by the way. For those who don't know, he just got married. That's why he's not on TV. But he'll come back to TV, and you just got to remember that, like, there is more to this. This is the problem. I'm going to expose a big problem in the IWC. The IWC wants storylines. They want good matches. They want this. They want that. They want all of these little things, right? WWE gives you fresh stories. Nope, that should have been on a pay-per-view. That should have been for the championship. That should have been this. That should have been that. It should have been a stipulation. It should have been in a different crowd. It should have been in a different arena. They should have waited until SummerSlam. They rushed that. Every single wrestler in wrestling, doesn't matter the company, should have a roadmap. Now, on this roadmap, this is a journey to get to the eventual top. Now, along the way, there's going to be roadblocks and there's going to be things that get in your way. We don't know what Imperium's roadmap is. We don't know the direction that they're heading. But I would rather have them be on TV, interacting with the tag team champions, having a great match with them to find that sweet spot for where their journey begins. Maybe this leads into a situation where they are then going for the tag team championship belts at Night of Champions. Which, by the way, just to throw this out there, because I think this is super important to mention, what about Riddle? Riddle versus Gunther for the IC title at Night of Champions. Riddle, Owens, Sami Zayn versus Imperium. See? The vision becomes clear when you start thinking a little bit that WWE can do so much more as time goes on, but you need a starting point. And I would not put Imperium in a tag team match with another tag team that needs to also win. So what you do is you put them in a showcase match. They did the backstage segment to set it up, by the way. But you do that, and then now you have your starting point, and that's where you can go and see what you see what transpires. Hopefully that clarifies. We got a super chat. I'm not sure why it didn't pop up on the video, so I do apologize for that. Albert Pons dropped a $5 super chat. Seth versus Finn was great. They can run that rivalry during Seth's reign. Women's single and tag titles need to be addressed, and Zoe had a good outing. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Albert Pons. I agree. And I think that would be a fun rivalry. And obviously I kind of tweeted about it. I would love to see the Judgment Day mix it up with Seth Rollins. I think there's a lot of cool potential there. And then also, to be fair, Zoe Stark had a good outing. Again, I just want to see what NXT stars are going to look like in the future. This is just the starting point. So we'll eventually get there, right? Hopefully they keep it up. They need her working on a consistent basis, video packages, segments. At the very least, they just need some continuity with her. The tag titles don't need to be addressed, by the way. For those who don't know, I will correct you, Albert. So for those who don't know, the women's tag titles are just defended on both shows, but the talent aren't crossing over. Just so you guys have a clear understanding of how that works, the women's tag team championship belts are not being split up. The tag team champions are defended on Raw, SmackDown. The only clarification that I need is the NXT women's tag titles, but I could be wrong. It sounds like WWE is going to have Isla Dawn and Alba Fire address that Friday. But it sounds like they're going to just do a tag team title unification match. My assumption is that's probably going to be taking place at Night of Champions. Champion versus champion. They're going to consolidate all the women's tag titles under one. If you're on Raw, you can compete on Raw for it. If you're on SmackDown or NXT, you can compete for that. With the way the women's tag team division is, not having so many strong tag teams, I'm okay with it. The only thing I have to point out, though, is the women's singles championship belts. And I said that earlier. That just needs to be addressed. It looks foolish for Rhea Ripley holding the SmackDown championship on Raw. And look, there might be something there. They might have something in the plans, right? I'm definitely one of those guys. I don't mind letting things play out and seeing where things go. But from the optic of watching this championship belt on WWE Raw, and it's a SmackDown title, and they just keep referring to her as a SmackDown Women's Championship. It's so ironic, you know? It's ironic, it's moronic. They need to address that. And again, they might have something in the works. They might be planning something. They might have a lot of stuff that could be in the works, you know what I mean? But the fact that it hasn't been addressed yet is just a little bit just weird. I think it's weird. I think it's weird, to be honest. I don't really think there's anything else I have to say about that. I just think it's weird. Thank you, Albert Pons, for the super chat. Guys, if you want to drop your super chats, go ahead and drop them. Yes. Albert says, but the NXT titles are on SmackDown. If you unify them, they cross all three brands. That's the way those titles were actually introduced to WWE, though. So just so you know, Albert, I get where you're coming from, but they're basically just going back to the same way it was. That was the way it was originally. When they brought the Women's Tag Team Championship belts, they were defended across all three shows. They're going back to that. That's what it looks like they're doing. They're just simply going back to it. And I think there is nothing wrong considering that they don't really have that many established women's tag teams. Now, to WWE's credit, because I've been super outspoken about this, by the way. You guys know. You guys listen to my content. If you truly listen to what I say, then you know how I feel. I have spoken about in the past that WWE's women's tag team division was pretty much non-existent. To WWE's credit, in the last few weeks, and including today, they continue to highlight the women's tag team championship belts. Okay? Chelsea and Sonya Deville being backstage. They got things in the works. We know Damage Control's competing on Friday Night SmackDown. Next week, it's already been announced that Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville will verse the winner of Raquel and Liv, or, of course, Damage Control. So I will give WWE their props in the sense that they're actually putting the Women's Tag Team Championship belts on TV. I'll give them the props that they deserve for actually building storylines for it, actually putting it on TV, having storylines, having women involved. Sounds like WWE also, when they introduced the way, it seems to me that maybe Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell now have a role on WWE television in the women's tag team division. So I'm okay with that. I'll give them the props where it's due because I've been very outspoken about that. And in the last few weeks, really for the last month, it just seems like it's definitely been out there. It's definitely being put on TV and they're making effort there, which I'm not trying to be super optimistic about this, but I am going to be pretty optimistic. I think the Women's Tag Team Championship belts, we're seeing so much progress already. If you're not going to do a brand split with them and they're just going to be across all three brands, I think those titles might actually mean a little bit more if they do the right booking. Defending the belts pretty regularly, more storylines. Plus, NXT getting involved can be a good idea as well, because if you ever really want somebody to watch NXT, you can always have your women's tag team champions who are part of the main roster on an episode of NXT. So I think there's a lot of good that could come from that. We got another super chat from Justin Kennington. This one's for $5. He says, was the setup around the ring with less LED boards how Raw and SmackDown are going to look going forward? Don't know. I genuinely don't know the answer to that. For a while, there was a rumor that WWE is going to be introducing new graphics, new logos, new branding, new everything. And that's been a talk for a while, and it still hasn't happened yet. So my guess, Justin, is that WWE will make some changes soon, but maybe we wait. I don't know. I see a lot of people on Twitter talking about this. Oh, well, it looks the same. Guys, if you can't complain about the booking, then you complain about that. If you can't complain, if you could complain about the booking, then you'll complain about the booking and that. Like, people got to realize, like, that's not really impacting the show. It looks like they're going to be doing some new stuff. We'll see when it happens as it happens. I'm all for it. I support it. I definitely think they should do it. But whatever if the ring has LED or not, it's not really going to change my opinion on the show because, again, that's not one of the things that are part of my wrestling philosophy. So ultimately, I don't think that's a big concern. But I will let you know, Justin, it sounds like they have definitely some stuff in the works. There's definitely some stuff they've teased. I do imagine that at some point we're going to see a brand new look to WWE Raw and SmackDown. Thank you for the super chat, Justin. Guys, if you want to get your super chats in, go ahead and drop a super chat. What's up, Cameron Johnson? Thanks for stopping by. Cameron Johnson's one of our VIP members on the channel. So if you guys want to become a VIP member, feel free to check that out. We also have the ability to gift memberships to the channel. So if you guys actually want to drop a gifted membership, you're able to do that. I think you just got to click on... There's a button. I actually forgot how to do it. So if somebody wants to tell people how to do it, that'd be sick. I can't remember, I swear. But nonetheless, you can. And I will actually... I don't know why. So just so you guys know, I get it. I kind of fell off with streaming. I wasn't doing it as much and stuff like that. I took a break, obviously, from streaming. I plan on coming back. I got to figure out the streaming stuff because for some reason I'm getting like super chats and stuff and they're not popping up on the actual screen. And you guys know how I do my live streams. I like where it's interactive and you guys get, your name up there. So I'll have to figure that out. I thought I fixed that. I had an issue the other day with it when I was streaming for Backlash and I thought I fixed it. So that's my point. But nonetheless, definitely I'll try to fix that for tomorrow's NXT stream. By the way, just a quick announcement. I will not be live for AEW Dynamite. I was invited to AEW Dynamite. So I'll be there Wednesday night in Detroit. If you guys will be in Detroit at AEW Dynamite, let me know. Maybe we could do some sort of subscriber meetup or something like that. But just letting you guys know ahead of time. I won't be live Wednesday, but I'll be live Tuesday. Cedric Gilmer has become a member for 8 months, level 1. Shout out to Cedric Gilmer. Shout out to you, and congratulations, my friend, on graduation. Justin Kennington just gifted a membership to Wrestling is Art. Shout out to the both of you. Welcome to the fam. Wrestling is Art. If you have a Discord, feel free to join. I can get you in the VIP section. Thanks to our good friend Justin Kennington for gifting a channel subscription. Justin, if you can share with me after the stream, maybe in Discord, if you can share with me how you gifted a membership, let me know, because I will try doing that as well. I would love to gift some memberships. But nonetheless, we continue. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Cameron Johnson. He's been a member for 5 months, level 1. He says, I enjoyed Backlash. I thought Cody was going to lose. I thought so too. I'm pretty excited, though. He won. So I love what they're doing right now with Cody and Brock. I know some people don't like it. I do. Love storytelling. I love the small details. I love everything about that Brock Lesnar segment. Brock Lesnar costing Cody the chance to win in the tournament is perfect. Cody doesn't need to be near the World Heavyweight Championship belt. Brock Lesnar looks absolutely incredible. He is taking a beating from Cody. He is stitched up. He's black-eyed. He's got bruises everywhere. Cody and Brock is going to be awesome. I think we're going to get Cody versus Brock Lesnar trilogy at SummerSlam. It's going to be a massive, massive, massive match. So I think we get Cody versus Brock at Night of Champions. It was obviously confirmed. And then obviously Cody versus Brock for the trilogy. Brock will definitely Brock will definitely go over Cody at Night of Champions, and it makes sense, right? But this keeps Cody away from the World Heavyweight Championship. Cody versus Brock at SummerSlam. It's a massive marquee match. I'm all for that 1,000,000%. Shout out to Cameron for being a member for 5 months. Tons of great things in the chat, so I'm going to try to get to it, guys. Bear with me. Chester Franklin Jr. says, what will happen if Kevin Owens and Sami can't make it to the Night of Champions to defend the titles? Also, will Triple H reveal new tag team championship titles for separate brands instead of the color championships? We know there's new tag team championship belts. We know that's been confirmed about a year ago. We know that they've had them in the vault. So my assumption is at some point they're going to reveal new tag titles. Whether it's for Raw and SmackDown, we'll find out. I think the reason why they haven't done it, and I could be wrong here. I could sincerely be wrong here. But right now, I think Raw titles are being obviously defended on Raw, and I think SmackDown titles are being defended on SmackDown. And that's the only way we'll see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn on SmackDown until they lose the titles. So I could be wrong here, but my prediction is that WWE is going to have them drop one of the titles at one point, and then when they drop the titles, whenever there's new champions or whatever, I think that's when WWE ultimately reveals new tag team championship belts. So that should be really cool. Lucas says, Brock looks badass with a scar. I'm like, this is a new Brock. Maybe this is a new character for him. Dude, it was cool. It was so cool. I don't even know, to be honest with you guys, I didn't know that they were going to go that route with Brock Lesnar. But when he grabbed the microphone, and listen, I'm just going to tell you guys how I see it as a wrestling fan. Forget about being like a YouTuber, content creator, like over-analyzing things. But as a wrestling fan, just in general, I love Brock Lesnar. Since Brock Lesnar came back with the ponytail without Paul Heyman, it's actually been really cool to see Brock Lesnar have personality, have character. Now he's actually in another feud with Cody, and he gets to show it off. And I think a lot of times we kind of often forget, like, Brock Lesnar's actually really talented at this stuff. He really is. But sometimes you forget about that because of the fact that Paul Heyman was always on the mic for him. So as a wrestling fan, I just actually appreciate the fact that this is something new. Your boy BK, thank you for the love. Appreciate you for stopping by. And yes, it does take time to tell a story. You got to have patience for it. If you don't like it, no big deal. I think that's what's cool about wrestling right now. And I feel like actually this is the funniest thing about being on Twitter is on Twitter, I have people mad at me because of the show that I enjoy. Like, they're in my mentions. They're pissed off because I enjoy a certain show. And I find that funny because what's really good about wrestling is, like, WWE Raw is 3 hours long. If you're not enjoying it, just don't watch it. You know? You guys know I don't hide this. I'm, like, fully transparent in the fact, like, I know it's my job to talk about wrestling and stuff, but if I'm not interested, I will not watch it. There's so many ways to get your WWE content. You don't have to watch the full 3 hours. So for me personally, I think storytelling matters. I think character arc matters. I think match quality matters. I think, you know, following the progression of certain people matters. And you know, that's why it's so awesome this day and age where, like, a lot of wrestling companies are doing cool shit. And I think, like, even, like, I noticed a lot of people on the channel are starting to really warm up to Impact, and that's awesome. But Impact just announced a tour for Australia. Impact is going to Australia. You know? If WWE isn't your cup of tea, don't watch it. Watch Impact. Watch AEW. Watch New Japan. They're all doing cool shit. Watch it. Enjoy it. If you don't like those, then maybe wrestling's not for you anymore. You know? NBA playoffs are on tonight. I'll give you guys some real transparency. I love the NBA. I don't care about the playoffs this year. The teams that I wanted to watch are no longer in it. I'll watch a little bit here and there. As long as I get my scores, I'm pretty good with it. So I choose to watch wrestling instead. That's kind of how I see it. Albert Pons dropping another $5 super chat. The Indus vignette was a perfect video. Jinder pacing behind Sangha and Veer while he broke it down for the Raw locker room was perfect heel work. I loved it. And you know, the fun thing about the vignette is like, and Albert, you know this. You know this greatly because of how often I talk about WWE and their video packages and their like vignettes and stuff. It makes a difference, dude. It really does make a difference. And I think when you can offer video packages like this, it really incentivizes people to want to stick around. And we talked about Imperium earlier, right? You want to put fresh faces on TV, but you don't want people taking losses. So you gotta be careful with how you put people on TV. Imagine if they brought in Indus Sher and they all look like scrubs and they're not like, they're jobbers, right? They're losing to the tag team. Like, it's not good. So you got to really put them out on TV. You got to do video packages. You got to do vignettes. You got to do these things. You got to put them on TV. You got to allow people to get wins. And if they lose, you got to still make them look good somehow. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with losing in wrestling. It's just how you go about it and what's the story. You know what I mean? And when I say what's the story, I'm talking like, do they just lose because they're building their way up, or do they lose and fucking get buried? You know what I mean? Shout out to Albert for the $5 super chat. Appreciate it. Steve Adams says, is Brock Lesnar retiring? No, it doesn't seem like that's the case. Wrestling is Art says, hey, what about a New Day and Judgment Day feud? Hey, listen, I'm all for it. I'm up for New Day and Imperium. I'm up for New Day and Judgment Day. Big E and Kofi are currently out, though. So I don't really want to speculate on a match that's not possible. But if they can come back, I'm all for it. Miggy says, Brock versus Cody should be a no DQ match. I don't disagree. I would like to see last man standing. I would like to see a last man standing match, or it doesn't really make sense because of Cody's background, but I wouldn't mind a fight pit match, which, by the way, it kind of sounded like Brock Lesnar was teasing that to begin with, so I'm all for it. Trevor says, it just gets to a point where you just got to delete Twitter. No, I refuse to, man. I refuse to, because if people are that mad, listen, if people are mad, I'm going to just be honest, right? If people are that mad that I enjoy wrestling or segment or a storyline, I made it, dog. I made it. If I have that type of impact on the world where I can put out a tweet that I am enjoying a segment or something and somebody's bothered by it, man, I'm not causing no harm. I'm not saying no bullshit. I'm just saying, hey, I enjoyed this story. I enjoyed that. Like, if it really bothers you that bad, it triggers you that bad, I made it. How do you feel about Woods recruiting a female in New Day to battle with Judgment Day? If so, who do you think would be a good fit? Good question. I swear I don't know. I can't think of one person right now. It'd have to be a really big babyface, though. That's for sure. It would have to be a really, really big babyface for a female to join the New Day. It would have to be somebody who's good at wrestling. It would have to be somebody who's entertaining. It would have to be somebody who... Chemistry. There has to be chemistry there. So that's you can't just throw any person on there randomly. Trevor says Roxanne Perez would be cool. I would not be mad, dude. Maybe not now, though. And again, I don't really want... It's hard for me to speculate on something like this, though, guys, because I swear, the reason why I don't want to speculate on it is because Kofi and Big E can't wrestle right now. So, if they could wrestle, then maybe I would even consider it. But not really trying to... Not really trying to speculate on something where we don't really know when somebody could wrestle or not wrestle. Moving on from that, though, somebody said Caden Carter. Where is that? Lucas said Caden Carter, LOL. I'm actually throw this out there. Caden Carter and Katana Chance could be like the female version of the New Day. In the sense they could be like the over-the-top ultimate babyface tag team in the women's division. If they were to win the WWE main roster tag team championship belts at some point, I would love to see them involved with the New Day in some sort of segment at some point. Because they could do some really cool shit there. James, I like that. James says, what about Lesnar and Cody doing a first blood match? I'm for it. I don't think WWE would do a first blood match, but I would love it. Fight pit, first blood, last man standing, steel cage. It's Night of Champions, right? You got to do you got to do a stipulation for that match, right? Or do you hold a stipulation for SummerSlam? Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes. This is a legitimate question for wrestling fans out there because I'm looking long term with Cody versus Brock, and I just have a feeling that Brock is going to get the W against Cody at Night of Champions, right? And then I think if you're WWE, especially because you're now with Endeavor, you could learn about UFC and marketing trilogy fights. This would be a massive one. Would you want WWE to not have a stipulation at Night of Champions, have Brock Lesnar defeat Cody Rhodes, and then let's say maybe at SummerSlam you have Brock Lesnar versus Cody Rhodes and like Hell in a Cell, last man standing. I don't know, any stipulation. If they allow for a first blood match, right? That's kind of what triggered all of this. Would you be down for something like that? Or do you think Night of Champions absolutely needs a stipulation? I think this is a very fair question. I understand that some people on the internet might not want to see Cody versus Brock for a third time, but I think if WWE can learn anything from Endeavor and UFC, with the right marketing, trilogy fights can be massive. And, you know, WWE, SummerSlam in Detroit, you want Cody to get a massive, massive win. You put in a stipulation where it almost seems like he has no chance and he walks out victorious. I think that could be a really good idea. I want to know from you guys, so let me know. I'm very curious on that, honestly. That's a very, it makes me think for sure. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to take a quick minute break. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere, though. I'll be right back. And actually, let me do this. Let's do this before I go. I'm just looking for a graphic that I have. Oh, man. I don't know why I can't find it. Unsanctioned match would be cool, but an unsanctioned match would not count in the sense of wins and losses, technically speaking. So I don't know if I would do that. But then also, too, if they do an unsanctioned match and then you actually did want Brock Lesnar to go over Cody, I guess technically your logic could be, oh, well, it didn't count. I don't know if I like that, but technically you can do that. I wouldn't like that, though. Don't get it twisted. All right, let me throw this up. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. Alrighty, we are back. What's up, everybody? So, thank you for sticking with me. I appreciate it. Just had a quick little commercial break, and while we were taking a quick little break, Justin Kennington gifted 1 membership to Albert Ponce. Let's go. Shout out to Justin Kennington, and shout out to Albert Ponce, always showing love in the streams and in the Discord. Guys, quick reminder, if you're not in the Discord server, I want you to join right now, because Discord is super cool, and we're always talking about wrestling on there. We got a tab for WWE, AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and other companies. Plus, you can share memes, talk about gaming, play games with other people, sports, health, fitness, music, movies, pretty much anything and everything you want to talk about. We just keep it a positive place, and we got some new moderators in there and moderation. Shout out to Jake, the Tribal Chief, holding it down alongside Robin and Cedric for being great mods in the Discord. Shout out to them. Definitely appreciated. And with that being said, thank you all for the love. A lot of things in terms of stipulation recommendations, by the way. Chester Franklin says, how about a barbed wire steel cage for Brock and Cody? If there was ever a time for WWE to introduce something different and something cool for their product, I think you got to do it with Brock and Cody. Like, that match at SummerSlam would make a lot of sense. Now, barbed wire, I don't know. But I am open to anything, including whoever said in the chat, Punjabi prison match. I think that's probably the only stipulation that wouldn't make sense here. But all recommendations are considered, right? Farhan Rocco, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. He wants somebody to gift him a membership. Aw, so nice. Edge vs. Seth for the 4th time. Give me what I want. Hey, that triple threat match for SmackDown looks sick. That's going to be sick. Edge, AJ Styles. Just those two alone will be badass. But just in general, it should be really cool. By the way, Friday night SmackDown, I will not be live as well. So I'm not going to be live for Dynamite, and I'm not going to be live for SmackDown. Wednesday night Dynamite, I was invited. Friday, SmackDown. Friday's my birthday. So I probably won't be around for that. I probably won't be in the office to go live. Because that's when my birthday is. So, if you guys want to show me love on my birthday, tweet me. But, a lot of cool things there. Cedric says, have you heard Austin Theory's new theme song? No, I have not. I did not, actually. What the hell? When did Theory get a new theme song? Did they tweet it out or something? What? Look it up on TikTok. Okay, I'm going to have to do that after the stream because y'all know how the YouTube copyright stuff goes. The YouTube copyright stuff, not good. It's not going to be helpful. You know, I play the song. Next thing you know, YouTube takes it down. We don't want to do that. So we'll see. I actually, Cedric, if you want to send it to me in Discord, obviously Dinobot will block the link. But if you want to send it to me in a DM, that would be sick. That'd be great. Albert Ponce thinks it should be a barbed wire exploding death match at SummerSlam. Dude, Albert, you just lost my respect, buddy. Chester, I like this. Chester has a really good comment. Chester says, Ango, whoever wins or loses on SmackDown in the tournament. So basically, whoever makes it to the finals of the SmackDown tournament but loses should basically verse against Roman Reigns. And I'm all for that. Now you guys are just throwing some really weird stipulations. A circus death match? Come on now. I'm trying to be serious. Cody gets busted open at Night of Champions and SummerSlam First Blood. Guys, the thing is, I'm not opposed to it. I'm just trying to be logical in the sense I just don't think WWE would do it. I think there would be a better chance of a bigger and better chance of last man standing Hell in a Cell over a First Blood match. Bloodline versus OC. Book it, Hunter. Looks like they got something cooking with the OC. We'll see what happens there. What's up, Twisted Morcus? Thanks for coming through, bro. Yeah, I mean, I think just kind of going back to Raw, though. Like, I think WWE has found themselves in a weird spot tonight. Because obviously we saw what it was like with... If I'm just being honest, we kind of saw, like, the crowd, right? Jacksonville. They shouldn't go back. Please don't be that fan that spends money at a wrestling show. Especially these tickets ain't cheap, bro. Don't spend your money on a show and then sit there and do absolutely nothing. React. Have fun. Boo. Cheer. It don't matter. Do your thing. All right. Cedric just sent it to me, so I'll listen to that in a little bit. I think Bobby's going to challenge Roman at Night of Champions. I think so, too. Bro, please, for the love of God, give me Hurt Business versus Bloodline. Please. 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 Dude. SmackDown's on Friday nights. The younger demographics, they're going out on Friday nights. You want to make people pay attention to what's happening on your show? Give us a massive storyline for the Bloodline and the Hurt Business. Even if Bobby Lashley loses, that's so fine. I don't even care about Bobby winning. I don't care about Bobby winning. Bobby doesn't need to win. He could still get a massive push. People need to realize Roman Reigns is going to win. He ain't dropping the belt soon. But give me some really good stories between the Bloodline and Bobby Lashley. Here's a quick fantasy book. Bobby Lashley challenges Roman Reigns. He loses at Night of Champions. Next week on SmackDown, MVP shows up, goes to Bobby and says, I gave you an offer months ago. You didn't take it. Reconsider. Call me. Simple as that. You don't need to do anything crazy. It doesn't need to be extra. You went up against a tribal chief. When are you going to realize that you need me in your corner? Then you bring back Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander, the original members. Do it. Do it. Please. Give us the Hurt Business. I want the Hurt Business so bad, man. I do. I like all those guys. I want to see them on TV. And we'll see what WWE does there. Could we see The Fiend come back? Uncle Howdy definitely worked out, and you could definitely expect more of that. WWE has plans with Bray Wyatt, but he's been out. So that will definitely be one of those things that they need to fix. We have 3 minutes left in the stream, guys. We're coming up on an hour. As you guys know, on Monday nights, I don't like to go live too long. We go for an hour just because Raw gets off so late. So any questions or super chats, get those in now because we have about 2-3 minutes left. But I'm reading some stuff in the chat. Love to see it. Tonight, Raw was in the enemy territory. Cody, by the way, referenced AEW. He didn't have to say AEW, but he referenced AEW. That was cool. He talked about the memories he made in Jacksonville. And I thought that was cool. Jacksonville was a terrible crowd. Did Swole quit wrestling? I did not see anything on that. I don't think so. Not that I saw. Chester says if Bray and Alexa do come back to WWE, I mean, they're going to come back. Will they end up going to Raw or SmackDown? I think Raw. So what do you want to talk about as becoming famous? It is. But I love when Brock Lesnar mentioned it in his little segment when he attacked Cody. I want to talk about me. Yeah, that was cool. I'm not talking about AEW tonight, guys. Sorry. No bueno. Tonight's about WWE Raw. So get in your questions. A lot of great stuff in the chat, as always. See, I feel like A-Town Down was a good theme song, Cedric, so I can't wait to hear this. But if you're gassing it up and it's ass, I'm going to tell you, dog. Because I feel like WWE theme songs, not all of them hit anymore. I'm just being honest. Not all of them hit. I wonder if Drew returns at World Night of Champions and attacks whoever wins the world title. I'd be down for that. I'd definitely be down. I would definitely be down for that. But anyways, guys, we're gonna call it a night. It's 12:08 a.m. Been live for a little bit over an hour, and we'll be live. Obviously, this week is a little bit hectic. Like I said, Dynamite, I'll be there. So I got invited to Dynamite, and then my birthday's Friday, so I won't be live. I'll be celebrating my birthday. But then, of course, next week we'll be live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Then we just keep going back and forth and back and forth. We'll go back into a nice live stream cycle. So that will be really fun. But I do appreciate you guys all sticking with me tonight. I thank you all for your time. I always love chatting with you guys. I always appreciate watching the chat. Overall, Raw was solid. Recap, pretty much a good show. Nothing crazy, but some good stuff on there. And yeah, we'll see how the rest goes. I'm excited though. I'm excited for wrestling right now. I feel like WWE and AEW, everybody's doing well. So just you could tell when wrestling's good, everybody's happy, and that's kind of how I feel about it. So appreciate y'all for the love. Goodbye and good night. Bang. Is that what you guys wanted? You guys wanted the Kenny Omega sign off? Because I can't do it that good. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate y'all. Hope you guys have a good night, morning, depending on where you live. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.